Have you ever walked up on a house and just got this eerie feeling from it? Or drive past a house that looked like it was staring right back at you? Houses with secrets so dark that it would make the hairs on your back stand on end. This is the kind of house that you would find in Los Feliz. There is a house in Los Feliz that the citizens don't like talking about. In fact, if you ask the citizens about the house on Glendower's place, you would find a house that stares back at you. A house so creepy and haunting that it would keep you awake for days. This is the case of the Los Feliz murders. Okay, let's go back to 1959. The Los Feliz mansion was a Spanish-style mansion that was owned by a family called the Persons. Now, the Persons were not Hollywood elite musicians or movie stars, but in 1959 Los Angeles, they were doing really well for themselves. Dr. Harold Person was a respected and educated cardiologist. So he wasn't a loud or boisterous man, but he was a man that was very meticulous and particular about how things were done. You know, those kind of men that would color code their wardrobe or arrange their decks with like military precision. So he was that kind of man. He had walked in his way up from studying medicine at the University of New York to now teaching medicine at the medical school in Los Angeles. But he wasn't just someone who practiced medicine. He was someone who was also extremely ambitious. And he had this dream of developing a medical syringe that would change how injections were given in the medical community. So he was a man with big dreams and big ambition. He was married to a woman called Lillian. Lillian Person was so different from her husband in a lot of ways. She was warm, she was inviting, she was welcoming, the kind of woman that would smile at the neighbors, wave good morning, that you would always see in front of the yard tending to the gardens and whatnot. So she was the soul of the family. Harold was the brains, but Lillian was the soul. The couple had 3 children. Judy, who was 18, she was a very outspoken and exciting teenager. She was bright and artistic. And they also had a son, Joel, who was 13, and Debbie, who was 11. The couple were going through a lot of financial difficulties. Dr. Harrod's patent for his invention, the medical syringe, had been stolen by a business partner, and that had led to a lot of court and legal battles for the family. And by the time the lawsuit was over, the settlement wasn't enough to cover all the legal bills that had piled up over the years. And then there was an accident where Judy had to go to the hospital. So they also had a lot of medical bills combined with the legal bills. So things were really, really tight in the household. And people started noticing that Harold's behavior was beginning to change. He became more introverted. He would most often snap at the children. He wouldn't smile at family dinners and whatnot. And Lillian, being the perfect wife, would always cover up for him. She would always tell the kids like, oh, daddy had a busy day. Or she would tell family members like, oh, he's just tired, he's been stressed up at work. And just try to portray this facade of a happy, cool, everything is okay dokie kind of family. But in spite of all of Lillian's effort to portray this happy family facade, the children were beginning to notice that something was going wrong. It's really hard for you to hide financial troubles from a teenager. It was later discovered that Judy had sent a letter to an aunt telling the aunt that she believed her family was in a bind and she needed to get a job to help out back at the house. But still, the family progressed as usual: Sunday dinners, Sunday drive-bys, family dinners, and so forth. But unbeknownst to the older members of the family, Harold was getting more depressed, and Harold was feeling all of the pressure in a really bad way, and things were about to blow up. Now, moving on to the night of the murders, December 6th, 1959, Los Feliz was quiet. Most people had gone to bed, and in the Parisian mansion, everyone had gone to bed. Well, everyone except Harold. Lillian was sleeping in the master's bedroom right next to Harold. Judy was in an upstairs room sleeping as well, and the two younger kids were sleeping just down the hall. Now, no one knows why Harold woke up that night. Most people say he never went to bed, others say he was pacing all over the house thinking about his financial troubles. But at about 4:30 in the morning, Harold decided that he was going to do something extremely gruesome. Mr. Harold went down to the garage, picked up a ball-peen hammer, went back upstairs to where his wife was sleeping, and struck her in the head. The blow was violent and fatal. Police would later find out that Lillian did not die immediately. In fact, she struggled to breathe and talk. Her autopsy later confirmed this, meaning it was later found out that Lillian died from asphyxiation, which means she drowned in her own blood. After striking Lillian, Harold decides to walk into Judy's room and strike Judy. But unfortunately for him, Judy woke up before he could serve a fatal blow to her head or something. So he proceeded to savagely beat up his 18-year-old daughter. One of the younger kids heard all of the commotion and came out asking, "Daddy, what's wrong?" And the father said to the younger one, "Go back to bed, it's all a dream." Now, we don't really know how Judy was able to escape from the house, if it was just before Harold hit her with a hammer or when the little child came into the bedroom, but somehow Judy was able to run out of the house with a blood-soaked nightgown, just running into the street looking for somebody to help her. So Judy ran to the neighbor's house, relentlessly banging on the door until they let her in. And I can only imagine the look on the neighbor's face, seeing this young 18-year-old girl with a blood-soaked 90 running into their home, telling them that her father had just tried to kill her. And so immediately the neighbors called the police. By the time the police got to the house was quiet, and just beside his wife, Harold was found dead. There was a half glass of water right next to him and a whole bunch of pills. The contents of the pills were not really exposed, but many believed, and toxicology reports later revealed that Harold had ingested a large amount of phenobarbital, which is a lethal sedative, and possibly codeine, and he had ingested a lethal dose that led to his death. Also, a copy of Dante's The Divine Comedy was found right next to Harold, and many believe that this was the book that Harold was reading before the murder-suicide. And the book was open to a page which was called the Canto 1, and it read, "Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost." And it was found that Harold had marked this particular portion of the book. Now, whether this part of the book made Harold feel like he had lost his way to success or he felt sinful or unrighteous, we would never know. The coroner pronounced both parents dead at the scene. The house was locked up with all the Christmas presents half wrapped, all the Christmas lights and everything all out spread out, and the children were taken in by relatives, and the house was locked. A crime scene frozen in time. Nothing in the house was ever removed, and the following year, when the police released the house and the property went up for auction, neighbors noticed that none of the properties of the persons were ever removed from the home. In 1960, the home was purchased by a couple called Julian and Emily Enrique. But the strange thing about it is, instead of moving in, they simply used it for storage and never removed any of the person's properties. Over the decades that followed, people peeking in through the windows claimed that they could still see all of the 1950s furniture, old magazines, children's toys, and even Lillian's knitting supplies just sitting by the sofa. The Enrique family never rented it out and they never renovated it. When Julian and Emily passed away, the house moved on to their son, Rudy Enrique. But just like his parents, he also never lived there, keeping it exactly as his parents had left it, filled with decades of dust and silence. And when Rudy died in 2015, the mansion was finally put back on the market. Now, no one knows why the Enriques never renovated it, and locals swear even now that they still hear footsteps, faint music, and see shadows coming from the house. And even during holidays like Halloween, teens would dare each other to sneak up the long driveway at night or to try to get into the house one way or another. And some of the locals say that the person's spirit never left the house, and a lot of people feel that the house is haunted even till date. Now, when Rudy died in 2015, the mansion was later put back on market. Now, even though the house now belongs to another set of people and the new owners has already begun renovation on the house, locals still feel like the house is a haunted house and that the energy of the persons never really left the house. And a lot of people feel that the house is still haunted by the tormented souls of the parents who once lived in that house. And this brings us to the end of today's episode. So, what exactly do you think was the motive behind Harold's decision to murder his entire family? Was he a man just tired of being burdened by financial stress, or it was something a little bit darker? I'll leave that for you guys to decide. So, a haunted house or a whole bunch of balderdash? You decide. This is the monster under the bed.